Hi everyone, Helen Blunden here. Hope you're happy, healthy and well. It is time for a new book review today, and today I have the pleasure of sharing my review of That Bligh Girl by Sue Williams. Now you might see I'm in a different part of the house. I'm in the place I usually read, simply because we have a lot more light here coming through the window. I've sticky taped my phone up onto the window, and so this is my source of light. I think it looks way better, but I have to do this quickly because I don't think the sticky tape's going to hold and my phone's going to topple to the ground. But that'll be the magic of editing, where I can fix that out, and you wouldn't need to know what happened because I would have cut all this bit out. Or maybe not, because I'm lazy. Righto, onto the book. So, That Bligh Girl by Sue Williams. Sue Williams is an Australian author, ex-journalist. She has written a lot of books to do with Australian history. I saw this book on the shelves of a bookstore, and I instantly wanted to go and order it from our library because it had the word Bligh, that name Bligh in there. No, I'm not related to the Blighs, but for those of you who may have been following me some years back when I was all over social media and I wrote blog posts, I used to go down these really creative rabbit warrens, I guess, rabbit holes where I would explore and research everything to do with my latest obsession at the time. And I was obsessed with William Bligh. I have no idea why, but something about his story, something about him as a man, something about how he would get angry and temperamental when people wouldn't follow rules and regulations. I kind of understood him some way. And so you can't see it, but behind me here, I've got tons of books on William Bligh. William Bligh the man, William Bligh the history of the Mutiny on the Bounty. And so when I saw The Bligh Girl, I thought, brilliant, this is a story of his daughter, Mary Bligh, but it's written in a way that is fictionalised so we can pretend to understand what might have happened when she was out here. So you've heard of William Bligh and the Mutinies, but you probably don't know that William Bligh was a governor of New South Wales in the early 1800s. He was brought out by the English government to come out here to try and put some law and order into this place because this place had gone ballistic. The military corps was basically taking over. They were buying a whole heap of rum. They were selling it for exorbitant prices. Rum became the monetary system of Australia, so that tells you something. And things were pretty bad. And so they brought him out here because he was strict. He was quite a law-abiding man, and they knew that he would put the place in order. But William Bligh came across MacArthur and also Johnston, and these two people, especially MacArthur, did not like the rules that William Bligh had put on him, didn't grant him the land that he wanted, and let's face it, the land was actually taken from the Aborigines. And lo and behold, there was a mutiny. And so that was Australia's only mutiny. Australians don't mutiny. I mean, I could have started one a couple of years back when we had Scott Morrison as our Prime Minister, but yeah, it's not about me. Anyway, so Australians don't usually mutiny, but they did this time round, and it's Australia's only mutiny, and it was against William Bligh, instigated by MacArthur and Johnston. And so when the mutineers had gone over to Government House, I had to laugh when I first read it in the history books that Mary Bligh, his daughter, was out there with an umbrella whacking the mutineers on the head with the umbrella. I mean, where was she when Fletcher Christian, anyway, doesn't matter. So it was this history that comes alive because it's fictionalised in this sense. So this is a story of Mary Bligh. It's a story of her life. It's a story of how she deals with her father. It's a story of her marriage to Putland, who had also come out to Australia on a different ship at the time, sailing out with her father. And it's, I guess, her story of how she found life in the penal colony of New South Wales. But the story is also written from the perspective of her servant. She had a young convict girl called Meg. That's not her real name. And Meg also gives us the perspective from a convict. So we get both Mary's perspective from someone coming from a rich background in England and a convict girl, young girl, and getting her perspective as well. So the stories, the chapters, that they vary. So we've got Mary first, then Meg, Mary. So Meg, Mary, say that quickly. And so it's interesting to get both of their perspectives. They have a very good relationship with each other. And through the story, we also, I guess we get put into a situation or get put into the scene of what Australia might have been like back then, and what was going on in the colonies with regards to land grants and rum and the treatment of females by the convicts and by the soldiers as well. So it was just very interesting to read. I would have loved to, go back in time and actually see what it would have been like. It would have been completely different environment. And I would highly recommend for those who are coming out to Australia for a holiday to take some time to come out to Sydney and to see around the Rocks area. That whole area is the oldest part in Australia where it was settled first. And in fact, there is a statue of William Bligh in the Rocks area, which I highly recommend you go and see, because it's part of some history that a lot of people don't know about. And so this story, That Bligh Girl, is all about Mary Bligh, and she comes alive in this book because, let's face it, a lot of Australian history texts, a lot of history texts are written from the male perspective simply because back then that was just, I guess, the norm. And so I'm thankful that Sue Williams has used her creativity and her imagination to make this Australia's penal colony come alive and say what had happened from the perspective of the females at the time and how they have to kind of go behind and be diplomatic with the men in their life. So I would highly recommend this book. It was a very interesting read. I must admit, at the end of the book, it felt a bit rushed. And I do wonder sometimes of the process of how authors go about writing a book. For me, I think the process is way more interesting than just the end product. And so when I read this book, with the sheer amount of knowledge and facts and history and environments and situations and people, that I kind of assumed that Sue Williams must have written things on a timeline with all the people and their children and when they were born and what had happened and who they would have met at that time and who they may have connected with or related with at Government House. I find that all fascinating. So she kind of put it all together and then whacked in an overlay of imagination and creativity to create the story that makes it come alive. Otherwise, it would have just been some very black and white facts about what had happened, when, where, and how. So in some way, reading fictionalized books like this one, I think are great. I mean, you might not like them because it has that element of fiction, that creativity, it might not have happened. Sure, we understand that. But the facts and the situations that occurred in this book indeed did happen in history. We just get them in a more readable, interesting format that we're able to digest and put ourselves through our imagination into another time and place and be given another perspective, the female perspective and the convict female perspective of the time. So that is it for me. I highly recommended read That Bligh Girl by Sue Williams. Thank you for listening and thank you for watching. Bye for now. Hey, the sticky tape didn't fall. Okay.